live on YouTube, and we're
Awesome.
queuing up Instagram. Now, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. If you're alive, we are back for the return of ownership, hosted by Mr. Will and myself. So, Will, it's
Don't
been
call
a
me
busy
Mr.
week.
Bill, man, like that. You make me sound like
Okay,
you
so
know.
look, it's my Southern charm. Okay, everybody that I call Miss or Mrs., depending on how they're feeling that day. So I even, say it to the young ones. I just give everybody respect. That's my way of doing it. Okay,
You know how you can respect me
how's
by
that?
not calling me Mr. Will. That
Okay,
just
okay. So
you know
look,
what? I remember when we were kids, we used to have to be like Mr. or Mrs. Right? Like even if it was somebody like close to like just a little bit older than us,
yep,
other
yep.
everybody else was like sir and ma'am, and
Okay, sir, ma'am.
anybody else was
So
like over who was an adult. But if somebody was like a little bit older, they were our babysitter, for example,
yeah,
and if they were like 16, then we had to
okay,
call them, Mrs. or
okay,
Mr., right? But then
okay,
if it was somebody who was 18, it was like sir or ma'am, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, so it is funny to hear like, my family was from the South, but they were also from the North. We were spread out across the East Coast. So you got
Mm-hmm.
both. Then you had New York where nobody was like anything. Everybody was just like, yo, you
Yo,
know, like,
yeah.
mom,
Okay,
you know?
so I'll put you in the category with Terry. He is our neighborhood handyman. He also asked to not be called Mister. So I,
Right.
respect him in that way.
Yeah. But nobody want that mister stuff.
All right. So it's been a busy week with Karuti. Do you want to share some exciting updates?
Yeah. So one of the updates that we have right now is that let me see, clean this camera.
I
Go
know
ahead.
certain things, legally we can't share yet, but for the things that we can publicly share.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have is as we are preparing for our release, right, and going through the process of like FINRA and everything else, we have gotten our mobile app, which is on Apple Store, which is a pain. Um, Still, no investment, right? It's just a demo app to kind of show people what it would be like to invest in projects on Karuti. But it is exciting because if you've ever tried to get a mobile app onto Apple, it's very, very difficult. Um, and Yeah, it can be a pain, like in the behind to do it. So
Yes.
I am glad that we were able to get it up. Um, and I'm excited because that'll mean that I'm still trying to figure out this TikTok. I'm like,
Yeah. I tried that this morning too. We're
it's
gonna.
there's so much going on
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah. You were able to see it last time on your phone, right?
You said
Because
what?
I think it's mobile enabled, not so much Mac desktop enabled. Um, because there's this live studio that you could
Yeah.
download, but it's set for Windows
Oh, is that what it is?
for the desktop version. Yes, that's my
Okay.
what I'm gathering.
I'm trying, man. I am telling you. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, let's get to it. I'm sorry.
it's
I'm
good.
gonna get this right
Well,
eventually.
I'm about to say one of these days we're gonna get it. I'm determined at this point.
Yeah,
Even if I have to get, like a different
I'm gonna get
attachment to get
forward
a
something.
Windows device.
Then I end up like somebody else popped up, and I end up like jumping into somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the abyss. TikTok is the abyss.
All right, so we're gonna switch around to you today. I want to know. I mean, a lot of our people are gonna want to understand like exactly what you do as CFO here, right? And
Yep.
your mindset behind investment. Um, so tell us about initially you've worked across real estate, fintech,
Yeah.
investor relations. How do those
Yeah.
worlds connect with you? Like, how do you pull those all together? What's been your experience?
Yeah. Well, conveniently, ownership is the connection between those different things. Because whether it was the small real estate companies that I worked for right out of college, a real estate developer in San Antonio, he owned a Super 8 hotel and a small apartment complex, and he was developing some parking lots for the income. And so seeing ownership at that quote small level, but very tangible was the first piece. And then even going through companies like Clear Channel or iHeart and seeing how even seemingly large companies, it all came down to ownership in terms of there were real people, looking out for what they needed to do. And so when you talk about in an evolving world where we know technology is changing things, being able to connect those three worlds, I feel like is most important now, because real estate is the one thing that's not going to change. Technology is what's allowing our world to evolve and change in the way it is. And so being able to connect those exactly like what you talked about, what we do here at Karuti, is very important, you know what I'm saying, in so many different ways. But I know we can go down that rabbit hole if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, no, I love to hear about like how those things connect. I mean, like, real estate teaches you a lot. I was in real estate as a real estate broker for 15 years, but then I was in real estate before that as an agent and a property manager for maybe about 2 years. So maybe about 17 years I was in real estate.
Oh, so you were deep in real estate.
Yeah. So it teaches you a lot. What did it teach you about like leveraging and positioning?
Okay, so when you were talking about teaching a lot, the first thing that came up was the relationships or the networking, because at the end of the day, it really is a people business. But for me, that was my biggest lesson that I learned in real estate. But as far as leveraging, the number one thing it taught me, I'll say, is really that anybody can do it. Like when you talk about OPM or other people's money, real estate is the first place I think about that, because anybody essentially can get in the game and be able to start making money without necessarily coming out of pocket.
Right.
And the reason why that is because the other major theme I learned during my time with real estate is it's all about creative problem solving. Like any deal can work. You just have to know the right, pieces to put together, the right market, what time, what season it is and all that.
Yeah.
And so if any deal can work, you can always have a win-win at the end of the day. When you talk about leveraging, whether it's leveraging those relationships, leveraging, capital, and all that good stuff, it's really just leverage all the different currencies you have, not just the money.
Right.
That's what I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. Real estate is one of those things, and I know a lot of people say it, but they don't break it down as to like how you can get into real estate without money. There's a few ways, right? So, one of the specific ways that most people get into it is by going out and getting into a group, or finding properties. That's kind of like what real estate agents do. They find properties, and then they help people acquire those properties. And one of the things that I learned when I was helping people acquire properties is that it taught me a lot about real estate along the way. I didn't really know a lot about real estate before I got in. It taught me a lot about real estate. So that's one way you can leverage specifically, by becoming an agent. Even if you don't become an agent, agents are always looking for people who are there to help. They're looking for assistance to help them with their listings and things like that. And so a lot of people got into real estate by offering their services, their administrative services, to real estate agents, right?
Yeah.
And so that helps them teach them like, okay, this is what it's like to do a contract. This is what it's like to view homes. This is what you're basing a home on, investment property on, versus a primary residence, or a commercial property versus a residential, whatever it may be, special use case, whatever it may be. And so there's a lot of ways that you can do it without necessarily having money. You want to shadow somebody. There's plenty of influencers out there. There's plenty of videos out there now that show you exactly what to do. Yeah.
I was going to say that's how we got started, because what it sounds like you're describing is wholesaling too.
Right.
The actions of a wholesaler. because it's really, like you said, finding the property, connecting with a buyer and
Yeah.
putting the contract, in between the two. And so, yeah, I, spent 4 years as a full-time real estate investor from 2019 to 2023 here in Atlanta. And then I spent, let's say, about 4 years working, in finance under real estate companies back in my early career.
So how did your experience help with raising capital, structuring, special purpose vehicles? We call them SPVs.
Yep.
Investors. How does that shape you with Karuti?
Okay, so I mentioned the networking and people, interfacing, and I mentioned my experience in finance. So what I realized, one of I call it my superpower, and the needs that a lot of people have around finances is to tell the story of the numbers in a way that connects with people to where they understand what the picture is telling you. Because, the way I look at it, finance is like the language of business, and so in any business, if you can look at those financial reports, you can be able to tell the story of what's going on in that business. And so for me, being able to take the numbers and to tell the story to whoever is the audience at the time, whether it's an investor, a lender, a potential partner, you can see the different dynamics that come from them having a true understanding. Like you can kind of get to some of the real conversation whenever they understand the numbers, and we're not going back and forth, just trying to get the numbers understood.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. With investment and real estate, raising capital structures and things like that, they can be initially like a fire hose, right? When you come to those things.
Yes.
And so what are your thoughts as far as getting people to understand a little bit at a time, like what it means to invest?
Man, my favorite thing is like learning from what they call first principles. Like I like to understand the basic fundamentals. And so literally just starting with the vocabulary or like the ABCs of the topic, like whether it's a certain investment vehicle or industry you're interested in, just go to YouTube, type in that key phrase 101 or, first steps or for beginners, and just immerse yourself in it. Like I feel like, as adults, we grow up forgetting that learning and education should be a continuous thing just because we're out of school. And especially when it comes to topics like ownership and investing, things that weren't, for me at least, weren't taught in school. And I didn't have family to, introduce me to those conversations. And so especially if you're new to, what you want to learn and you haven't been exposed to it before, just total immersion, driving the car, walking, waking up, going to bed, check it out.
Yeah, we grew up with a lot of myths about money in our community, and I'm thinking about some right now. What are some myths you grew up you had to break?
Well, the first one that's coming to mind is that we can't afford it or we don't have it.
Right.
And so it's, I'll say maybe less of a myth and maybe, a programming script, for me.
Right.
And so, that's pretty much how I got on this journey, talking about the mindset, that's needed to truly build wealth and ownership and all this stuff, is because I've been, deprogramming that myth, this whole time, once I realized, what was going on.
I think about one of the myths I had is that we don't have it, or we can't afford it, or it's not for us, or you have to be a certain level of like education. Education pushed me because I thought by getting education, education is important. Don't get me wrong when I say this, right? I hold an MBA, and I thought by holding an MBA that would, somehow there's going to be some knowledge that's unlocked.
You check the boxes they said was going to get you there.
Yeah. And honestly, I thought even it's almost like I thought there was some type of special power, right? That was going to be released when you get an MBA. Like, I have released this new gemstone, right? Like, yes, I have all the gems now, right? Right.
Yeah.
But in reality, a lot of that education came from me being in the field and asking people things and not being
100%.
afraid to ask. And a lot of times I think the myth is that, you know, there's nobody in our community is like that. So we got to look outside, which makes us very nervous, right?
Yep.
But now what has happened, even between you and I being on this live right this minute, right? There's a change. People are starting to realize that there's a lot of us in the community,
Yes.
right? There's a lot of us out here
Yes.
that actually do have some experience.
Yes.
And so you don't have to feel like you have to go outside or do something to find your person. You can find these people online right now. They can pop up in the live and you can jump in this room, just like Andrew Rush is jumping in the room right now. Mike D jumped in the room, right?
Yes.
These people will jump in the room and be like, you know what are they talking about, right? And they look like me and they sound like me, right? But they have a certain amount of experience in something that I want to learn about, right? And so that is a change that now we have. If you literally hashtag or search in these search bars, people will come up instantly that are doing things in these areas, whether it's investment or you want to learn about blockchain or whatever else it may be. There's areas. So the myth is it's not out there. The information is not accessible, right?
Yeah.
But now it is. That was the one I had to break down. And I'm just like, I'm now still even, sometimes I want to learn something.
Yeah.
You know, I want to learn, we utilize blockchain in investment. We utilize, you know, tokenization in smart contracts and making sure that, you know, things on Karuti are immutable and people can't touch, but then also things happen. Well, in order for, I grabbed a piece of it and then I went on chat and then chat was like, well, here's some videos of people who are already talking about it.
Okay.
And then I went down those videos and I'm like, man, I'm like a PhD now when it comes to these things, but like the concepts I can pick up a lot easier. And so allowing ourselves to be like, well, the information is out there. All I got to do is hit the search button now. Right.
Yes.
And now I can get that information and it may not necessarily give you everything you need, but now you can go out with, you know, a certain amount of intelligence and find the rest of it. Right. Find the rest of it.
Okay. So that's a good point because I feel like that's the other part of what's allowed me to, you know, have the experience that we're talking about now is actually going out in the environment. So like there's the digital learning, like we talked about, the self-learning at home, but then actually going out into the spaces, you know, putting your hands on it, you know, actually getting out there and working and experiencing it has been, you know, the next level of that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. To you, what does wealth mean?
Okay, so now you're getting into inevitably what's going to come up is the quantum wealth theory. Okay. So this theory that I'm talking about emphasizes that wealth is not about money or fiat currency or the green paper or digits in any of your accounts. Mm-hmm. When people have financial goals or wealth goals, what they really have are desires for a certain feeling or experience. Okay. And so what money is, the medium of exchange, it allows us to exchange for these feelings or experiences that we desire. And so in very specific terms, I'm talking about love, peace, joy, and freedom. Those are the 4 categories of feeling or experience that people are actually desiring when they have these different financial goals. And so to add on to that, what quantum wealth means in that terms is that it also understands, again, thinking bigger than just the fiat currency, we have these other currencies that we can spend in exchange for our desired lifestyle, love, peace, joy, and freedom, and how that looks. And so just like we're talking about here with time spent learning something, the energy and the attention and the focus that's needed, because, you know, to tell you how our attention is very valuable, I could just talk about how the advertisers, the Facebooks, the Googles, they get millions and billions of dollars in revenue from corporations just spending for our attention. Right. The reason why Facebook and Instagram and Google and YouTube are free for us to use as consumers is because the attention is getting paid for in the back end. Yeah. And so when we realize that you don't always need money to get you started on this wealth building, this ownership path, you can use all these other currencies to start building one by one And once you get enough value exchange and you building the skills and you're doing the things you love and the energy's there, then you can start to exchange that for the currency that you want, if that is fiat dollars, because, depending on where you live, you're probably going to need it anyways.
Yeah, I like that idea. Talk us through more of that, like playing the role, energy, body, finance. Like, how does that all connect?
Okay, so now we're going to go with another analogy. Talking about your body, let's look at it as your financial vehicle. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thought that comes up is this idea that money has an omnipresence. It is a omnipresence. I got that from this research group. They have some services around financial behavior in different surveys and insights. They're brilliant. We could talk about that later. But their white paper introduced this idea to me called money energy. And when they talked about money having an omnipresence in our life, that means even if you're not directly talking about money, whenever you decide where the kids go to school, where you shop, what you get to buy, where you vacation, how long you vacation, all of these things have the flip side, a money correlation with it, or there's always a money conversation going on behind the scenes, if you will. And so with money having an omnipresence, how you talk about money, whenever you're talking about saving, the energy you have when you go to work, when you wake up, when you make money, the energy you have when you spend money and you paying for your bills, all of that impacts the results of it. And we could talk about the science behind that another time that proves it. But what we're just saying here is that money impacts your energy, how you spend it and how you get to experience it. So that's the first thing of this financial vehicle, the fuel that's going through it. Then you talk about when people say heart disease is the number one killer in all communities, but especially ours. And you talk about chronic stress over time is a number one contributor to heart disease. And when you talk about financial stress being one of the top reasons why people report being stressed, and then you talk about generations of that, if that's something that has happened over generations in your family, and the compounding effect of what financial stress can do to our physical well-being in our bodies. And so there we go again, talking about the financial vehicle being your body and how you take care of that in the other way, both impact each other. And we can also go into the central nervous system and, again, how you feel when you're looking at your bank account, or when you're paying your bills, when you pay your rent every month. Are you thankful for the roof over your head, or are you mad because you just paid the landlord another, $1,000 that you'll never see again? How you feel in the energy that's being produced during those times absolutely impact your desire to want to go on YouTube and research ownership and investments and sit for hours and do that, because maybe you're so discouraged and uninspired that you don't even want to sit and do that because you're mad you just sent your landlord $1,000 that you could have invested.
Right. Yeah, that part.
And then lastly, we're talking about the default program of this vehicle. That is our brain, and how not just how society has programmed, depending on where you are, how you think about money, but your parents, what you grew up, not just hearing and seeing, but just feeling like if they were at, around the dinner table and excited to do the bills that month, or, stressed to do bills. You picked up on that because,
man, I don't know anybody who's excited to do some bills. You be excited to do bills?
You know what? I just have to say that because I don't want to assume that everybody grew up with the same, poverty mentality.
I don't care if you rich or any, man. If you excited to do some bills, and let me know, because I want your type of bills. Like, what them bills look like?
I know,
you know
right?
What I'm saying?
But look, so let's talk about it, because if we were to reframe, like going forward and setting that new tone, like being excited to do bills could probably change the game for all of us if we actually went into that intentionally.
Listen,
aren't you excited to, to use the things that those bills pay for? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna use that quantum wealth theory.
I'm saying,
and try to adjust my mindset to be excited to pay some bills,
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, though. Adjustment in the mindset will affect everything, right? I understand where you're going with that. I do. I get it. I get it for sure. Yeah.
And it's like, we've heard this in different ways. Okay, so let me share about how I stumbled across this quantum wealth theory. Okay. So I kind of gave the bits and pieces of my experience about full-time real estate from 2019 to 2023. Now, what I didn't tell you around that time is that's when I quit my finance job. You know, I had been in corporate finance from 2011 to 2019 when I quit. And so for me, the reason why I quit my job in 2019 is because this fateful Achilles tendon injury had me reflecting on my entire existence. Okay. I had the good job. I had the degrees, like you said, check those boxes, thought the magical superpowers would come any moment. And specifically, I had accounting and finance degrees. Okay. I had bought the house, you know what I'm saying, in 2016. So I checked all the boxes. But when I ruptured my Achilles in 2017, I had a $7,000 line of credit balance from when I bought the house. I got the walls and the floors done. And I had zero savings, even though I was an individual with a low mortgage, you know, all the disposable income in the world, but I was spending it just as fast as I was earning it. So this Achilles surgery cost me $5,000 out of pocket to repair my tendon. Obviously, this is a necessity. So I had to also put that on credit because I didn't have the savings. So now I'm sitting here with $12,000 of unproductive debt, and I'm laying at my aunt's house after surgery because I can't go up my stairs. And I asked the question, what are the wealthy 1%? What are they doing? What do they know that everybody else is missing? Because it wasn't financial literacy, because I had that. I went to school for it. I learned, you know, at the highest level what that looks like. And so to answer that question, what are the wealthy 1% doing? From 2017 for the next 3 years, I spent researching, and that's how I discovered this quantum wealth theory. So I can summarize it in 3 basic things that the 1% is doing. Number 1, business and tax strategy, knowing that taxes are the number 1 expense in America. Number 2, life insurance. There's more than just death benefit. There are living benefits. And that's where you talk about leverage and be your own bank and all that good stuff. And then number 3, all the books would say it. They would, like, you know, have it in the intro, agree that a wealth mentality or a wealthy mindset was needed to start building wealth. And so they would agree on that, but they would never break it down to say exactly what that was and how do you build it. And so that's what the quantum wealth theory is about. In scientific terms, what is a wealth mentality and how you build it. And so that's what's put together in that program.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was
so
very
where can
exciting.
people find more information on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, quantumwealththeory.com. It'll take you to the page. Right now, my target audience is different schools and nonprofits and organizations. I'm, you know, technically B2B. But naturally, any conversation I have, it's because of the omnipresence. I always end up, you know, bringing it up because it's relative for me. And so naturally, I work with individuals. I, you know, have plenty of resources and stuff to share if you're interested.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time, like, to let people see Asia and talk about quantum wealth theory. When I heard about it and read about it, I was very, like, it definitely resonated with me, you know, growing up with a lot of the myths that I had about money, right?
Yes.
And even now, I mean, like, now, you know, like, things have changed a lot, and so you can get rid of a lot of things, you know, the steps to get rid of these things, these gremlins, I call them, inside your head.
Yes, gremlins.
But a lot of people don't, right? And so the way you break things down I really think it helps people understand, like, this is more than just, like, okay, my zeros and ones, right? Or decimal points. It's feeling, you know, it's a lot more that creates your mindset, and it also creates your wealth, right?
It does. It does.
Yeah. One of the things that, again, we're trying to do here is we're trying to leverage our collective buying power, our collective ability. 1.3 trillion, I think it was last year, that the Black community had, in order to invest in particular projects, in order to invest in things that are going to be infrastructure for future generations, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times that comes, even in mindset, ties to quantum wealth, is the myth that I got to do it on my own, right?
Yes.
I don't have any help, right?
Yes.
And so when you see other people crowdfunding or funding into a project that you feel good about,
Yeah.
and also there's a return, that helps open you up into, oh, okay, there's other people like me that are investing. I see them like me investing in something that I'm passionate about. Let me go and learn more about investing in different things, in different vehicles. Let me start an area like a community where I can learn more.
Yes.
This has been great. When I saw Quantum Wealth Theory, I wanted to definitely reach out to you. And it's kind of like how we got connected, because I saw that. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm gonna send you the 3rd edition. I just wrapped it up. And so, man, after 3 iterations of it, it keeps evolving. And just the more I talk and get other people's feedback, I'm definitely going to send you one of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Well, thank you all for being on the live with us. We're going to be doing these more regularly. Again, we are set to launch in about 60 days for our crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding. I want to be clear about that. Equity crowdfunding portal, Karuti.
Yes.
It's going to tie into both investments here, but then also potentially cross-border investments that you can take advantage of. And it's really about the collective buying power and the collective investment power that communities have to be able to affect change. Politics is going to be politics. The 1% are going to be the 1%. But we have these vehicles inside the US right now that allows us to bring our money in a regulated way that's transparent for everybody to see, and to start breaking down some of these myths about financing, but then also encourage our best and our brightest and people who are looking to get into entrepreneurship to go ahead and know that there's a community of people thinking of like, yeah, I'll give you $100, $200, $1,000 to go ahead and get your dream off the ground. I don't have the ability to do it right this minute, or the desire, or whatever it may be, but I see your drive and I want that for you and I want that for me. And oh, what great, I can go ahead and get a monetary return from it over time as well. So,
some equity, some ownership.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Asia. Talk to you next week.
Until next time.